want to look back on 20 years of the DPC, and in doing so, we look back on 20 years of success and achievement in digital preservation. And it might seem strange for us to do it this way, but to know, that DPC is a community, first and foremost, and the strength of the coalition, the strength of the community is the strength of the DPC, not the staff, not the members, not the board specifically. It's all the work that happens around and with and engaging with our members. So it makes sense for us to be casting a very wide net and saying, where is the best practice? Where are all the game-changing activities around digital preservation, especially over the 20 years of the coalition's existence? We're not celebrating 20 years of anything we've done, therefore. We're celebrating 20 years of the very best and the impact it's had on the digital preservation community.
It was an honor and a privilege to sit on the judging panel for the 20th Anniversary Award. In this category, we marked 20 years since the founding of the Digital Preservation Coalition, with an award that looked for the most substantial and impactful digital preservation initiative since the start of 2002. We always say that it is difficult to judge the Digital Preservation Awards, given the tremendous achievements of all of the nominees. In the case of the 20th Anniversary Award, this could not have been more true.
The committee is currently 13 people spread around the world, and we are working as the top level of a community-driven work. We are just the ones doing the work, following the community's advices and recommendations and needs. We have a big high-level aim, being this preservation pyramid with its means and its goals, but I'll take it down to a more easy level.
Yes. Well, the actual aim of implementing premise is actually to have preservation metadata about our data. And that is to look at what do we have now, what do we know about the digital objects that we can preserve today and that we can use in the future, so we can also access these objects in the future. And how can we best capture this information and be sure that it is there for the future? And the premise has actually worked on to find good practices for this. That is what this is about. And the information is, of course, what is it, the object, how it was created, what I'm allowed to do with it, and what has been done with it. To that, the premise has developed this data model where there are entities, that are things that are relevant to digital preservation, and each of the entities has semantic units with detailed information so that you can register about the entities. And then there's, of course, different relations. Objects can have events by agents, or there can be rights by agents. If we look at the objects themselves, the different types of objects, the highest level is intellectual entity that can have representations, for instance, original TIFF pages, which are files, or it can be a representation derived EPUB, which is an EPUB file. And it can also be bit streams. So this takes us to the online resources that Karen will go through.
Yeah, so Elle presented the outcome of the premise community work, and we have described everything in a number of different places, so it's available for everybody.
Hello, my name is Hannah Beckerly. The Federal Agency's Digital Guidelines Initiative, or FAGI, began in 2007 as an idea to bring together digitization expertise from U.S. government agencies. It has since evolved into a resource and knowledge sharing center for the digital preservation community around the world. FAGI aims to articulate common sustainable practices and guidelines for digitized and born digital historical, archival, and cultural content. Its sustained impact on the digital preservation landscape is significant, including free and open access to its well-researched guidelines and support for free and open source tools to implement those guidelines. The FAGI website is truly a global resource with thousands of unique visits from around the world each month. In general, the site hosts visitors from over 100 countries each month, and international users comprise around half of all visits and resource downloads. The two FAGI working groups, audiovisual and still image, have differing areas of focus and active participation from a wide range of constituents. I'll hand it off to Kate to introduce the AV working group.
Thanks, Hannah. I'm Kate Murray, and I lead the FAGI Audiovisual Working Group. We focus on a broad range of issues related to audio, video, and motion picture film. Our projects grow out of real-life needs of our community members, and we work together on guidelines, tools, and solutions. For example, our project around guidelines for embedded metadata in DPX files grew out of a discussion with colleagues from the Smithsonian about inconsistent scanner-generated metadata. What was this data? Was it important to keep? Could it be standardized, and how? So FAGI worked with community members and industry experts to develop a high-level metadata set and then created a free open source tool called Embark to implement the metadata guidelines. We have many projects in our portfolio, including advice about digitizing motion picture film, case histories for creating and archiving born digital video, highly technical file format research and specifications. At the moment, we're finalizing research related to accessibility for audiovisual collections content, including open and closed captions, audio description, subtitles, transcription, and more. I'll turn it over to Tom from the Still Image Group.
I'm Tom Rieger from the Still Image Working Group. We provide imaging science research and guidance, which we share with cultural heritage digitization programs worldwide. Our guidelines for still image digitization are used throughout the world and are currently undergoing a major revision, which is now out for public comment. We also produce software like OpenDice, which is used to measure the conformance to the International Standards Organization 19264 specification and the FAGI guidelines upon which they're based. A quote from Hilda Gonzalez, who's the General Archivist of the National Archives of Puerto Rico. The work you have put forward is extraordinary and much appreciated from all of us who are looking for guidance to do the best work possible.
Pronom is a file format registry, essentially a database where we enter information about various file formats. It contains information about files you use every day, for example JPEG, CSV, or Word documents. You may be wondering why that is helpful, but do you know how to get your files off this anymore? Or this? Or this? In order to preserve your records, you first have to know what they are. Could you effectively preserve Magna Carta, Doomsday Book, or Shakespeare's Will without knowing what materials it was made out of? As Hartley said, the past is a foreign country. They do things differently there. Well, Pronom is here to help with the translation. The concept for Pronom was formulated around 20 years ago, with a decision to build a knowledge base to help us understand digital preservation risks. It was made publicly available in 2005. Pronom is now used all over the world in the fields of digital preservation, information management, and digital forensics. An entry for a file format in Pronom could contain information such as description, version number, and file classification. However, its main role is to store signatures. Signatures here are similar to a human signature, created with the purpose of identification. These can be made by storing the file format extension, such as CSV, but also can involve analyzing the file by opening it and finding the recurring patterns. The patterns are described in a notation called X and allow us to identify the files more accurately. Other software, such as Droid or Siegfried, use this information when scanning files, so you can identify what is stored on your computer. Pronom receives the research time and effort of practitioners from all around the world, and to date has collaborated with over 80 institutions. New file formats and suggestions for improvement come from our pool of users, records of the National Archives, and any new major releases of popular file formats. The Pronom team checks submissions, conducts file format research, and maintains the database. While it may be supported by the National Archives, we are proud to say it is run by a community.